thank you so much for coming out. We're trying something new here. One of the suggestions from the community was to have more opportunity to be able to have an exchange that's more of a dialogue with the board. And our board meetings are restrictive in how much we can accomplish in that setting. So we thought we would try this and see if this works a little better. And as we continue and move along, we'll continue to tweak things to make sure they're as effective in that dialogue as possible. With that though, if I can just read a brief statement, we still need to maintain some order because we do have a quorum of the board here. It's technically a meeting, just a form, so it's a different setup, but there's still some rules we just need to follow to maintain order and such. So we understand the community has the right to be heard on particular matters of concern to them, which is why the Board of Education provides members of the public an opportunity to comment at board meetings or meetings such as this. However, as a matter of fundamental fairness to all, we have the obligation to regulate time, place, and manner of those comments. That is why the board asks persons offering comments not to identify either students by their name or other personally identifiable characteristics, or staff members by their name or title, and requests community members who wish to present concerns about particular individuals do so during regular business hours with the superintendent of schools. You can, of course, always email BOE, and the superintendent is included on that email. And we also want to take this opportunity to remind the public that if any member of the public wishes to register a concern about a particular situation related to how Brewster schools are operated, Board Policy 3230 contains a procedure regarding how to communicate such a concern to school officials. And I think, is that the one we have out there? I think that's the one we have out there. We trust that our community will remember that the public comment period at board meetings is only effective if comments are concise and delivered in a civil manner with respect and courtesy to all. So thank you for hearing that. You're more than welcome to, if you need to make a general statement about, as we progress toward the end of the meeting, concerns in a particular area, you can here address it in a more just general context, and then you can, of course, always email us beyond that. So thank you. I'm going to turn this over to my administration at this point, or our administration, just to kind of go through some slides and some information that maybe topics, or actually were topics that were identified when we did the survey last year as kind of the top trending issues of the district or constant recurring themes. So we picked these topmost to discuss, and once they go through that, the floor will be yours. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Seagate. Okay, first I want to thank you for coming out. I'm so happy to see so many people. I was afraid not a lot of folks would be coming out with the weather tonight. So just a couple of housekeeping things. When you came in or before you leave, please make sure you put your name, address, and phone number on the sign-in sheet so that if you do make a comment tonight, or if you need us to get back to you, or you want to get involved in some way, shape, or form as we move forward, that would be great. There's also a survey that you don't have to fill out tonight. You can fill it out and send it back if you want to think about some things. You can send it to my office. But it's where does your interest lie, and what areas would you consider helping us with in the future? So I just want to start off, as Sonia said, there was a few things from the survey that the community had completed last year that we are going to highlight tonight. I'm going to start off with talking about Brewster Vision 2025 and what that is, and what we hope that it is for all of us. And then I'm going to have Dr. Gosh and Mr. Carlson are going to be talking about facilities and then class size. We're going to go through our snippets of the presentation, and then we'll pass the baton back over to the board, and then they're going to open up the floor to the public. So let me just start off first and foremost by talking about Brewster Vision 2025. So there's never enough funds in a district to do all the things that all of us in the school community and outside of the school community want to do for kids. There's never enough. So we need to make sure that we build on the great work that we've done here and start to think about a roadmap for the district. And the roadmap needs to be in every single area. And what those areas are will be decided as we move forward next year. But for example, and it could be equity, it could be facilities, finance, academic, social emotional learning of students. So all of those areas could be particular areas that we focus on for the next 5 years with Brewster Vision 2025. Once As we move through the course of this year, and we start to move into next year, you're going to be seeing information coming out from the board, from my office, from our offices, about the vision. And it's really, really critical to create a roadmap, to create goals, and figure out where do we want the district to be in 5 years. And there needs to be accountability built in. The accountability needs to be done throughout the school community. After those 5 years are up, you go back and you revisit that plan. And you look in the district, both in and out, to see whether or not we've achieved that plan, and then decide where we go from there. So that's kind of just a small piece. I know it's a very, very small bit of what we're talking about with Brewster Vision 2025, but it's really, really critical as we move forward. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, and I can answer questions about it at the end if you have any questions. So the next piece we wanted to talk about, and I'm going to have Mr. Carlson come up because he oversees this area, is facilities. This was something that we wanted to make sure we highlighted for the public.
Thank you. So this evening we're actually joined by our new Director of Facilities, Glenn Fryer. He joined us this past end of October, early November. So we're very excited to have Glenn on board, and has already made an immediate impact here in the district. So in terms of facilities management, I just want to review a couple of past successes that we've had in terms of construction. So back in 2009, we had a $28 million bond referendum to renovate and build additions on Wells Middle School, as well as other district-wide improvements. I believe including the turf field was included in that bond referendum. Most recently, we just completed a $39 million project, and as you can see, we had a number of items in which we improved our facilities. We're now in that place where we're starting to look around. The dust has settled. We're now out of major construction, which is a major relief because construction can be very stressful. So we're relieved that we're past the construction phase, but now it's giving us a minute to stop, look around, and look and see what our other needs are. So what we have upcoming, future needs and opportunities, we're actually due for what's called a building condition survey, and that's a requirement by New York State that every 5 years you physically inspect all of your instructional facilities and non-instructional facilities as well. So what we'd like to do is we're already in the process of an RFP, request for proposal, a competitive process, where we select a new architect firm. And we decided that we wanted to go outside and select a new architect firm just to get a fresh look at our facilities, fresh take, and eyes wide open approach. So we actually have an RFP out. The responses are due tomorrow, and a committee will be interviewing those finalists and making a recommendation to the board probably in mid to late March. Based on that, they will be in here over the summer performing that building condition survey, and the result of that is that they're required to present to us a report, which has short-term needs to happen in a year and long-term needs over a period of 5 years. So that's a 5-year capital plan, which would then be reviewed by a facilities committee that we would establish in the fall and make recommendations to the board. Another opportunity that we have and will help us address our future needs is that we have expiring capital debt in 27-28, which seems like a long way off, but you really need to begin the process now of planning, and we do that through our long-range financial planning, which we present to the board each November. But there's obviously a facilities component. So it's falling in line that we have this building condition survey performed this summer, which would then lead into what are the district's needs moving forward, again with the establishment of a facilities committee to assist in that decision making. So that's where we stand on facilities, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. And I was remiss not to introduce my administrative team. I'm sure many of you know Victor Carlson is our Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations, Finance. I have also with us this evening is Dr. Brett Harrington. He is our Director of Human Resources. And in a minute, I'm going to have Dr. Michelle Gosch come up and talk a little bit about class size. She heads up curriculum and instruction for the district. So class size is something that is on our radar. It's very, very important to us. So Dr. Gosch right now is just going to give you an overview of what our class size looks like right now and what we're planning to do as we move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Banlow. So as Dr. Banlow mentioned, we know that class size is a concern to the community at large, and it is very much on our minds for the people who work here every day. You've heard me say before that enrollment is fluid. So in order to make any sort of apples-to-apples comparison, you have to pick a specific point in time and be consistent with that point in time throughout. So if we look at our enrollment overall, let's say the past 10 or 11 years, our enrollment overall is declining. In 2009, 2010, we were just under 3,500 students, and this is on Beds Day, picking that one point in time. And this past year on Beds Day, we were at 3,066 students. So our enrollment overall is declining. However, we're not seeing that same correlation when it comes to class size, because we've also lost some staffing over the years as well. So first, we broke this down into 3 slides. The first is our K-5, and then middle school, and then high school. And there's a reason why we had to do it that way, which I'll explain as we go through. So here what you see is obviously by grade level, the number of students in that particular grade. When we say sections, that means the number of classes for that grade level. And we come to an average class size by dividing, of course, our total enrollment by our number of sections. The next column is range. Now, this doesn't mean on average every class has 24. It means that our smallest class, our smallest section in kindergarten, for example, is 20. Our largest is 24. And the far right column is our board policy guidelines. So this is what the board sets out for us as what we hope to stay within. Kindergarten is highlighted because we are above the class size guidelines, which is not okay, not acceptable to any of us. What we did this year, part of what we did this year is that we hired 4 teaching assistants to spread across kindergarten and first grade. Now, if we had these numbers in July or even August, it would be a very different conversation. We would be looking at opening up additional sections. However, at JFK alone, since the first day of school until now, we have had 24 new students enroll. Okay, so that's sort of what we're dealing with. We're trying to do the best that we can for our students while we're dealing with this increase in enrollment. So our fix for this year was to have 4 outstanding teaching assistants that are spread across kindergarten and first grade. The teachers, Dr. Zamperlin sat down with the teachers. They developed a schedule for how that support would be given throughout the school day. And that is for what we have done for 1920. This is very much on our radar for next year. It's very much a priority when we're talking about our budget for 2021. So we wanted to make sure that you knew sort of what our plan was as we had, we're dealing with this unexpected increase since the first day of school and how we're looking at it for next year. You can see for the remainder of the grade levels, they are within our policy guidelines. In a perfect world, we would love to hire a number of more teachers to bring this down, but this is where we are at this point in time. Moving into the middle school, we also broke it down by enrollment. As we get into the secondary level, and you've heard me say this before, as you get into the secondary level, it's more difficult to make a comparison when we talk about average class size because classes become more specialized. So, for example, in 6th grade, you're going to have, let's say, English classes that are non-special education classes, but English classes that are specifically and intentionally kept smaller because of the needs of the students in that particular class. You'll also have advanced math classes that begin in 6th grade. So it's not as easy to say, that it's not as simple as it would be in K-5. But if we take this number of students in 6th grade, the number of sections that we have across the core content areas, we come up with an average class size of 26.6. That's within our policy guidelines. However, you'll see the second to last column from the right, which is range. Again, this is another way that we look at enrollment in order to say, okay, our smallest section is 18, our largest is 31. 7th grade is another bump, meaning that we have more students in 7th than obviously in 6th and 8th. So the number of sections allocated for 7th grade is greater. You'll see, again, for this range, 15 to 31, a higher average class size, but still within our policy guidelines. And our 8th grade group, Again, higher class sizes at 28 pretty much, but within our policy guidelines with a range of 19 to 30. Okay, so Brewster High School is when it becomes even more difficult, and you can't really break down by grade level because students are on such specialized paths. So what we did to get these numbers was take the number of students enrolled in the core content areas and look at the number of sections, which is how we arrived at our class sizes. You might see, like math, for example, has more students enrolled than the number of students in the high school, and that's because students would take more than one math course. So that's how we receive those numbers. Class sizes are well within, actually below our policy guidelines, and this is where you see the ranges here, our smallest sections up to our largest. Some of these numbers, the reason why they're low is because they might be advanced placement courses, they might be dual enrollment college courses, and Mrs. Horler and I have had a discussion about this. When students submit course requests, if we have 5 students that want a particular course, we're not going to run that course. But what happens is that number wasn't 5 when we made the schedule and filled it, right? So students, for one reason or another, decided to drop that particular course, and that's why we have lower numbers there. I know the math course of 8 is an AP course as well. So again, we try at the high school level to create a program that's specialized and personalized as best we can for students. So you're going to see these numbers be smaller, especially when it comes to the class size ranges. I know I'm talking long with Mr. Carlson, so I'll just end with saying, speaking about some of the things we're doing moving forward. So we've had a number of conversations already. We were able to get a working group together of K-12 administrators and teachers to look at the big picture and say, what are our priorities at this point? That was in November, and now we have more information. We'll be meeting again at the end of the month to have that conversation again. We obviously are looking at this when we come to budget and resource allocation. But finally, even just today, we had Dr. Michael Reddick, who's a renowned scheduling consultant, come in to see how we're allocating time. And just in looking at, having someone objectively look at it from the outside who hasn't lived the schedule to say, you can move this here in order to get more time here, or, where it's, a negotiating year as well. So we've had joint conversations with the BTA in planning sessions with Dr. Reddick to say, here are some ideas that we have moving forward, which of course would all have to play out in that process. But we're looking at this in a really multifaceted way in order to make sure we're creating the best conditions for students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gosh. And you'll see a lot of information as we move through the budget process. We'll be talking about class size, we'll be addressing a lot of different things. So with the survey last year, that the board did with the community, the other area that we wanted to make sure we highlighted tonight was community interaction. And the board has taken huge steps, and they did a lot long before I was here, I know that, but they are continuing to try to reach out and make sure that they bring the community in, and we partner. So one of the things that they tasked me with was to be sure that I had a key communicators committee. We had a great meeting this morning. We had leaders from all different parts of the Brewster community. We had the Rotary. Bertie was there from the Brewster Education Foundation. We had each of the organizations, my team was there highlighting what's happening in the district so that we can pool our resources together for the one common purpose, our kids. And I want to say this to you right now, please spread the word, because many of you have spoken to on the phone already. You've come into my office, you've talked to me. My door is always open. Anytime you want to call me, I'd be happy if you go to a meeting and something's not sitting right with you, or you're in a building and you had a conversation with the principal and you just want to look into something a little bit further, do not hesitate. That is what I'm here for. I serve you, I serve the community. So I wanted to say that. So one of the other things that we've done to reach out, the board had at Brewster Day, I'm hoping I'm saying it right, Brewster Day on Saturday, they had a board education booth. They were there all day. Talking about the district, highlighting the district, so they want to continue to build on that. They have a newsletter that they send out twice a year. We've also started a faculty advisory council with leaders in the district so that we're making sure that our teachers are being heard, our administrators are being heard, we're all communicating and staying on the page in order to move the district forward for the kids and to make sure that we are moving in the direction that the board is asking us and the community is asking us to move in. So there was several other things I just wanted to mention. The board is also looking very closely at any emails that come in. They are trying to be as transparent as possible in their communication. We are here because we want to make sure that we're hearing you. We want to make sure that if you have any thoughts and hopes for the future and vision, we want to know what those are. And you might not be able to capture it tonight, but please feel free to take this survey, fill it out, or just reach out to me and I will make sure that I get all your information. And one other thing, I think there was one other thing I just wanted to make sure I mentioned. I think I got everything. Oh, the leadership capacity in the district. We have such great staff, great teachers, great administrators, and we need to make sure that we are growing them. So Dr. Gosh does a great job with professional development. Dr. Harrington also does a lot with professional development for our staff. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to provide opportunities for our leaders who want to continue to grow and make sure that they're staying up to date with all the new advances in education. But also we're helping some of our teachers that want to move forward as well. So Brewster is a great district. I'm truly honored to be here. I want you to know that. I'm enjoying every single day. And at this point, I'm going to pass it over to our board president. I don't know if you wanted to talk anything. Is there anything I missed in community?
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is that we will send out a survey again. It's a little more lengthy, so this right now would be very helpful to guide us and just more immediate with the survey that's out there. It's on the back.
Yes, it's right on the back.
Yeah. So in about a month or so, we'll send out another survey like we did last year. We'll tweak it a little bit, and hopefully, because the feedback does. I thought it was quite helpful, and it kind of helped guide us as well in some areas. So we'll do that again. And what else? Oh no, just in terms of, and I agree. So thank you. I do think that we're heading in the right direction. But we're always looking to improve. So any constructive critiques that anyone has, kind of find us, just email us. If you're feeling that there's areas in the district that maybe need more focus or whatever, again, please feel free to share your thoughts on it.
So the very last piece is hopes and vision and for the future. So at this time, I think we'll allow, if it's okay with you, Madam President, we open up the floor to folks. So I'm going to pass it to you now.
I was feeling bad now. We didn't introduce ourselves. Usually we have complaints, but I think everyone knows who we are. You're welcome to come up. Again, just for now, I discussed it. I wasn't thinking to time limit anyone this evening. I just hope that everyone can be respectful of other people's time. So if you have things to share, we really are looking to hear what you have to say. And I'm sure others in the audience want to hear what you each also have to say. So please come up and share.
May I ask you to pull the microphone closer? My old ears cannot hear that well.
Do I need to repeat all that?
Thank you.
Did anyone hear anything I said all night? Because I don't want to start over. Please come up and share. You're first. You have a microphone right here for you.
No, I just wanted to be able to hear what was being said. Thank you.
But you have great perspective. You've been on the board. Come share. Now I can start everybody off. Yeah, pressure.
There are more people here who have.
Okay.
I'm sure have more things to say.
Anyone, please come up.
So my name is Karen Dovey, and I have a daughter who's currently a senior this year. And I just wanted to talk a little bit and kind of get some opinions or put my thoughts out there. It was the business course offerings moving forward. And I want to thank Dr. Gosh and Ms. Horler. I had a conversation with them last year regarding the courses that were being offered. My daughter wants to major in business, and there was a big difference between the course offerings that she was being given and what my older daughter had been given. And after the conversation, they added finance, accounting, sports management, and that was wonderful. So I just wanted to put it out there. Many of us going on college visits, really, business is one of the top 5 majors. And looking at what we're offering, I think we're putting our students at a disadvantage, especially compared to other districts. Other districts are offering so many more course offerings to get students familiar with all the different parts of business and finance. They're doing more internship programs. I know where I am, I get students all the time from North Salem, from Mayapack, from Yorktown. They come, they observe, they follow. I just think it would be a really good option and something to look into moving forward. You know, seeing my older daughter going as a, you know, she's more in the biology field. If she didn't have the offer she did, she would have been a step behind. So I think for our students, you know, I'm a little concerned for my own daughter going in. It's like she's one step behind of everyone else who's had all these options. So it's just something to keep in mind. I know that there's finance reasons and things like that. And, you know, they were very creative this year, and I'm very appreciative of it. And she took all 3 courses. She does not want to do finance, I can tell you that. But, you know, it's just something to really look forward, you know, for our students and to keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Fahrenholtz, and I have 2 children at Wells, but I'm actually here as a representative of the Junior Performing Arts Boosters, and on behalf of them and the performing arts staff at CV Star, we'd like to request a performance space at CV Star. It's the only school that does not have its own auditorium. The kids have to go up to Wells, which, you know, for the little kids, especially the 3rd graders walking up there, and then they're mixed in with all the kids, you know, when the classes are changing. And so it would be great for them to have their own space, an auditorium, more room for the chorus. The chorus kids, even just the regular classes, they have 30 kids. It's in a very small space. There's just not enough room for the kids to move around. And the orchestra kids are in like this small, what used to be a supply closet. That's where they take their lessons. And so they just really need, you know, you have the orchestra kids practicing next to the band kids, and then you have the chorus kids on the other side. And sometimes it's just, it's hard. It's hard to do something like that. And we have such a great performing arts program here in Brewster, and I think it really starts with the younger kids. And so if we can move that up, and also a full-time, I know I'm asking for a lot, a full-time orchestra teacher, because right now the orchestra teacher is split between CV Star and the high school, and it's just, you know, nobody's really benefiting from that. The high school kids aren't benefiting from it, the CV Star kids aren't benefiting from it, and we really just, if we could add, like, you know, have 2 full-time orchestra teachers instead of 1 person split between 2 buildings that are on completely different schedules and just not working. So that's my spiel. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I was saying everyone came out, so
Yes.
everyone should say
Yeah.
one thing.
All right, twist my arm.
Hi.
Okay, so I do agree with Jen. They do need to figure out the performance space and the orchestra teacher. I'm thrilled that you guys are looking at class size, because the 7th grade is completely jam-packed in every class. I have 2 7th graders and a 9th grader, but the other thing, since you're looking at all this stuff, the cafeteria is too small in almost every building, because the kids tell me, and they have nowhere to sit, they have 20 minutes to eat, it takes 20 minutes for them to get their lunch, they sit down, and they're told they have to go to SSR. So, I mean, yes, enrollment might be fluid, but we need to really look at using the space efficiently. There are classrooms in closets, there are, just when you're looking at things and you're talking to architects, let's figure out how to make our space more efficient in all of the buildings. Well, maybe not this one, but the other 3 that I'm familiar with.
Thank you.
But,
It's that 7th grade that kills you.
yeah, I know, it's the 7th grade. I don't know what we were doing that year.
I don't know. Hi guys, I'm Jamie Cronin. So a couple of things that you mentioned. I'm really excited to hear about the faculty advisory. I think that's critical to be able to hear what the teachers are saying and then getting their input. I would encourage you guys to do surveys, paper surveys. I know we're in a day of technology, but there are some scars from previous administration points that I think people are more comfortable with paper. I think that what would be helpful is to get an update on the law firm search. Victor, from the architects, it sounded like you guys were changing direction. I think that New York State requires you to go with the lowest bid. No? Okay. So are you not including that architecture firm in the bidding process?
They were not requested.
All right, interesting. That's great to hear. When you talk about the vision of 2025, one of the things I have struggled as a mother in this school district with the most is Teachers College. I scared the living daylights out of Frank coming up here because I heard that they're bringing Foundations, or Foundations is back at JFK. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to hear that Foundations is there. If you talk to any teacher in any district, they're like, Foundations is the foundation of children learning how to read. So I'm very excited about that. But my kids didn't get it. And so there's a huge gap in what our kids are doing. I have a very intelligent 8th grader that got a 66 on her grammar test in English. She has advanced courses, she's super smart, she's dedicated, and she doesn't know where a comma goes. What are we doing about teaching the kids that did not get some of those elements about grammar, about reinforcing it? There are a few teachers that my kids will talk about saying, oh no, he teaches us grammar in the class. It has to be more fundamental in their English programs. I'm almost wrapping up, although I know I don't have a 3-minute limit on this one. But the falling population is a big thing because we've seen that our budget never falls. And so, last year we saw that the pipeline came in and that funded a huge thing. Well, that's not always going to be there, and then we have this massive budget. And so there has been in the past disputes about how the money is spent. We're talking about orchestra teachers and things that really are really important to our kids' development, but how do we balance that with a falling population, with potential needs of a building review? We're busting at the seams. We have no room for cafeterias, but it can't continue to go up and up and up while our population goes down and down. So those are just some of the thoughts on that. So thanks.
Thank you.
No,
I love
that you brought it up because that's so important.
I'll just comment that I believe we discussed, we're working on our agendas for the future and planning based on our timeline. Our attorney update, I think, was for the 25th, the second meeting in February, right? Yeah, okay, so that'll be happening soon. If there's anything that, just to the administration here or the board, if as the community is commenting, if there's something that anyone wants to kind of respond to, please feel free. Please.
I just want to add, the other night, it was last week, Ms. Carrie Cunningham, Scott Seaman joined me for a legislative forum with the Putnam and Westchester County Assembly, Senate, board members, superintendents. Everybody is pooling their resources together as a coalition to make sure that we're going to work really hard. I know Victor's going to tell me, I don't know if hopefully it'll work, but we're going to work really hard to try to really try to get our fair share for the whole region. So I know Mr. Seaman's going up to Albany. He's going to be advocating for us as well. I'll be up there for a workshop and I'll be advocating, but I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, because we are, since the formula's been in place, we regularly are funded at 60 to 75%. If you look back over the period of time, we've been short on almost over $40 million in state aid. And we obviously are not the only school, but that is standard across the area. And they're trying to make a number of changes to how they calculate the money, so then they can withhold it in a different way. That's the only reason. So that is a key point of what a number of people going up there are doing. And we met with Senator Hartham and some of the other senators. We have appointments scheduled for Monday, and we're really trying to get the points across. And a big point of contact always is the more information we can provide. So if people have stories, if people have issues with things that have occurred, not specifically to a class, but you notice something because of the way the government is handling it, or the state is handling it, please forward us the information so we can bring it with us. The more information we can provide to them, the more they know that maybe this time we're serious. You know, because once again, they'll come up with a budget, and then everybody will get shorted, and then we'll have to fight for scraps. And that's not the idea.
And just two last things. Also, Senator Shelley Mayer is going to be coming to the district. She's the education chair in the Senate, and she wants to come out to all the districts in the region to see, you know, what we need. And one of the things they pointed out, and I'm sure my board members would agree, was that they really listen to you. They listen to us to a certain extent, but they really listen to the taxpayers. So.
Okay, who's next?
Hi, I'm Warren Johnson. I'm at the other end of it. My daughter's a kindergartner. So, but I think, like, I also teach, so I know some of these programs, things like that, and I think as we're looking at, you know, curriculum instruction, what's cutting edge right now, when I'm looking at all the numbers, I'm glad we're talking about class size, but I look at them all on the top end, all the innovative learning that we're being, like, it's coming out and that we should be doing with students, and that Brewster is, you know, has some of these programs, but they're meant to be like monitoring groups and having kids interact and teachers interact with them. You're looking at classes of 24, 30 kids, so it's a lot. And it's not going to be fixed right away, obviously, with the budget. And people don't want their taxes to go up. But I'm looking, if I want to stay in Brewster and not leave, I want to know that I have younger kids coming in, that if we're going to be doing these cutting edge approaches, what kids need for 21st century skills, they also need to have the amount of attention they can get in the classroom, you know, and be able to implement these programs. You know, I know they're all, like, I know my daughter's teacher's working very hard to do that, and she's doing a fabulous job. As time goes on, when I see that there could be 30 kids in a class, and what we're looking for our kids for our future, it is important. And, you know, it's underrated because people will say, oh, we can't do that. That's going to be very costly. But teaching is not standing in front of a room of 30 kids and just teaching them and everybody's sitting in their seats. Very different from what we kind of grew up with. So I do think that I'm glad to see it's a priority, and I'm really interested to see what you're doing with it. So I know if I want to be a part of the district in the future with my family.
Thanks.
My name is Donna Doherty. I just wanted to follow up on two things. Number one, you hit the nail on the nose there. But business classes, yes. And Ms. Gosh and I have gone back years on this, and I called her up this year, and I said I would give you the biggest hug, because finally somebody listened. And my son did graduate with your older daughter, and the younger one will graduate with the younger one, and we live just up. And he is at a disadvantage. Went to Bryant University, and I can tell you, excellent writer, no problem. All the rest gets to those business classes. Well, what is marketing? Doesn't even know, because you know, Mom just told me he'd probably be good at it. So I have to tell you, she is absolutely right. They are ill-equipped. They have no idea. So once again, I hug you immensely for getting them started. I hope they grow. You know, in the past, if you look, I've spoken, and I was told maybe community members can give a little lecture. No, they need classes. They need to study it. They need to do projects together. That's how they all work in college now, projects together. And they have no idea. So kudos, right. Then you can bring foundations back, which I can tell you was absolutely awesome. Now I can tell you my senior can't write, has no clue. So I've asked before, and that's good. Get rid of Rubik's. They write a paper. He wrote his paper, which was his college essay. That's what they spend the whole first semester on senior year. Gets a piece of paper back with a grade and a bunch of numbers next to a bunch of lists of things. Not one mark on his paper, and it wasn't an N. So there was obviously room for improvement in this teacher who spent an entire semester writing it with him. So I don't know why there was room for improvement, but that's a different issue. But if you don't grade a paper, you just give back a rubric that says, you needed to do this, you got a 2, you got a 4, you got a 1. I'd say to him, well, do you know what was wrong? No. Do you know how to fix it? No. So we made him go back and sit, but, well, you know, kids get upset, this is what we heard, get upset when they see me write on their paper. No, they don't, that's how they learn. So I beg you to get rid of this rubric. Give them vision and tell them, this is what we want you to write about. Help them write it, which is what they try and tell you they're doing this first entire semester of senior year. we're gonna rewrite it. Well, then why didn't we get an A? Number one, and why did we get a paper back? There's nothing written on it. And this has been since grammar school. And I believe it's just the easy way for the teacher to go, 2, 2, 2, oh, yeah, 52, with 52 adds to that, that's a B. So I asked for that improvement too, because they get to college and they don't know. Because no one's giving you a rubric in college. No one's telling you, put your name first, the date second, your class here and your class there. They're telling you, this is the idea. And we're not doing that. I don't know anymore because I don't have kids in young school. But they used to have to do a map in 5th grade. And it infuriated me. They were told what color the map had to be. The compass rose had to go on the bottom. Your name had to go here. And you got points off, but they weren't in the exact spot. So they all knew how to bake the exact same chocolate cake. But you didn't have any bakers. You didn't teach them how to bake. It's got to stop. You gotta let these kids think. You have to come back. And if this isn't today, that I spend an entire semester writing, first quarter, why? How do you not write anything down? So all these kids that are coming up, and you can have all these great programs, but if your teachers don't engage so that there's dust in the parking lot at 3 o'clock because they're done, you can put all this out there all you want. You have teachers that'll tell kids, I stay 1 day a week, that's what's in my contract. Well, you have lots that won't. And lots that'll say, I'm free 2nd period, I'm free 4th period, come whatever. But you got lots. I'm there that 1 day, and then, oh, my kid got sick. I don't reschedule another day. I'm sorry, I just missed that day. Well, you know, I paid tutors 2 years to get my kids to pass the Algebra 2 Drake Regents test. Because I didn't have teachers that would stay. If you have classes, and you know, we don't even give the physics Regents anymore because no one can pass that. Well, then maybe you should look at the teams who's teaching it. That's been a problem, but we let that go. Well, you don't take away the Regents, you teach them. We don't do that here. So I hope to see the vision to be more focused on those children and making them the thinkers that you're putting all the technology into this beautiful room. But if you don't give them the feedback and you don't help them, then you get a paper that you spend an entire semester on. You won't know what's wrong with it. You don't know why you got a 2 on this one, why you got a 5 here. And I guess there's, your teachers have to start buying in their actions, not just their words. That's my point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, who's next? Let's follow that.
I've got nothing to lose now. He's a senior.
So I'm gonna go back up if nobody goes up.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Jamie C. Part 2.
So I don't know you, that was wonderful, thank you. I think that's actually one of the other things that's really important. If we need to be looking at the teachers and what's coming out of them. So we all know that going into high school, you have to go in and say, I am a no this teacher family for certain subjects. We know it. So what are the repercussions of that? Physics is one of the things.
Oh, yes.
You know, like there's
10 years
certain,
plus.
right. And so there's certain things that we know. And so what are the ramifications? I'm married to a teacher. Everybody I know is a teacher. So I get the whole like how hard it is. But we need to start putting some elements in to figure out how to get the ones that are not doing. Like, I could go through the list, and I will talk about that. The most amazing people, when they leave this school, you are heartbroken. I was fortunate enough to have a teacher that made my children's life very different. And now that's not going to happen to other kids. So she's changed my dyslexic son's life. Not that teacher, just somebody, but it's amazing. And then you have other teachers that really have a negative impact. How do we make that so that you are rewarding those that are the most amazing, most gracious, and amazing teachers, and then the ones that we are actually taking regents away? What do we do about that? The last thing, completely unrelated, is that Brewster Youth Wrestling had a tournament here in December. We pay for an a company to manage it. We have no Wi-Fi. So everybody comes from all these schools all around and they go to sign on to the Wi-Fi and they can't get onto Wi-Fi. We go to Somers, we go to Carmel, we go to every other school and you just get right on as guests. We look like silly people when we talk about digital enablement and then we don't actually allow for digital enablement. So, totally unrelated, didn't mean to cry because I'm not a crier, but there's certain teachers that are the most amazing that ever walked through this district.
Thank you. Maybe I'll prompt I'll put out a prompting question. So yes, there's always budget constraints and Albany constraints and all kinds of stuff that happens. But we had one person come up and lay out a vision in terms of if we can have, you know, a whole new building basically. But what else do you see in terms of kind of visionary stuff? You know, how would you like to see if you could create that perfect world? And everyone who spoke so far absolutely has brought up things that are areas in need of focus, almost like they need to happen almost regardless. But if you were to dream, you know, what else would you see? We can hear you.
I know there's the carpentry math and the forensics for science. Those are awesome. However, we have let go old ones. I know military studies for social studies have been let go. That's disappointing, but it is exciting to see the new ones coming. And I think if we can work and offer more electives, that would be beneficial.
Thank you.
Can I just add, Mrs. Horler and I have been meeting with, we were having superintendent roundtables, and that was like one of the number one things that the kids had spoken to us about. So thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, back again. There's one other pet peeve I can't believe I forgot. Can we please teach our children how to sign their name? Because no one leaves Brewster High School knowing how to sign their name. They can't even sign for their yearbook. When they pick them up, they print. I understand everything's technology. I understand, whoop, push that little button, and it goes. Somewhere during the day, because when you have driver's licenses, which I have too, that I can show you, and social security cards, they have a third grade, at best, after mom wrote it so they can copy it, signature. There has to be a way we can make sure they all leave here. People are judged by their handwriting, and you will write on an application, you will write your name when you sign a check. Yes, you can transfer your money, but there are forms, and our kids cannot sign their name. And I think that's a quick fix. Well, you did, yes, so did I.
I mean, you know, I think at this point, I mean, I'm a product of Catholic grade school, so I
It's
have
important to have a nice
and I know where commas go, but, you know, it is, you know, we've heard multiple times, there's just not enough hours in the day for everything that these kids
If they have to
do.
write their name every
So
day
I
on
feel
one
like that's
thing.
a parent thing at this point.
Yeah, my kid's
Because
not
I
gonna
don't
write
see
their name on
I
every
don't see
paper.
cursive coming back.
Just their signature. I didn't even ask cursive, I just said their signature, so they can have a signature. Have them sign their papers at least once a month when they hand them in. I didn't say cursive, I said a signature.
Yeah, well, that's what I
They
said,
don't have
I
one.
taught them
Go
how to do it.
I just had to, my son's fifth grade teacher last year did work it into the curriculum, so he's probably one of the few who does know how to write in script his name and sign. So I think if, it can be worked in. They can, you know, it wasn't a huge, you know, months and months and months, but it was kind of worked into other things that they were doing, and he finished out the year and he practices it, and, you know, at least if he can sign his name, that's, you know, like, okay, it's a start. And they have
And you
to-
still translate it though when a teacher writes them something and they take a picture and say, what does it say? Because they don't know how to read it.
He
I
can
just
read in
want to get us
script,
back
so
to
they can-
the order kind of so.
Yeah, he's gotten to the point where he can read in script, and they have to be able to read in script. When they're reading documents in a social studies class, if they're reading,
They
you
got
know,
assigned a book in fourth grade, where there
that
was a
was-
note in the book from the mom to the kid in script, and they couldn't even read it. So Hattie would sign a book for the class to read that the kids can't read, that particular page or those particular pages.
library.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she does it.
Sue, can I
Can
jump in
I
for
call
some?
order back to the center here? Oh, God, please. No, go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just some answers on some of the curriculum items that were brought up. First, thank you for the kudos on the business courses, but honestly, the credit goes to Mrs. Horler. We had a conversation and she was able to shift some resources around and make it happen. So thanks, Nikki. Also, just on the Regents, especially when it comes to science, this year, Chem Honors, we're bringing back the Regents for that course, because if students are taking chemistry at the honors level, they should be able to take the Regents and be successful. So that's the first time in a long time that, maybe the last time was when I was teaching here, that's happening. I was not teaching chemistry. Thank God it's well involved. Also with physics, I mean, part of why students do not take the physics Regents is because it's meant to be more of a pre-AP preparation. And that was a decision that we made, I think, when I was assistant principal here that long ago, about the track that students would take, or that were open to students when they come up to the high school. If we have this ongoing science task force, if that's something that we're interested in bringing back up, I'm happy to have that conversation and see where people fall with that, and even to bring back more info to the board if that's
Dr. Bash,
possible.
we have it for physics honors. We
Yeah.
take the Regents this year, physics honors.
This year, great. Okay. Also, in terms of electives, we just had a conversation again with the science task force last week, in addition to some of the conversations we've had with the 2023 group at the high school. We're figuring out ways that we can gather some more feedback from students, and also promote it a little bit better and earlier so that students know what their options are when they're signing up, so they have that. I don't have an answer for the handwriting, but it's here, or the rubrics. So that's it, thank you.
Okay. Who would else like to come up?
So Michelle, we've talked about this before. I think what's important about some of the curriculum is going out to high school graduates and surveying them, like having them, like interview them. You have tons of people that are still have younger siblings. I could get you 15 kids tomorrow if you want. That will come back and we'll talk to you guys about this. Is when I went to college, I thought I was going to be able to do this, and I bombed. So we need to get the pulse on what's really happening with the kids that are leaving our school and going into college or other areas, and find out where did we lack so that we could steer it. I mean, everything I do in business, you guys talked about the advisory committee, that is getting feedback and everything. Like, that's what we have to be doing, to be able to know what's successful, what's not successful, how do we better prepare these kids, what's the difference between your kids and your kids in terms of one you guys felt was prepared for college, and then the other one you actually didn't. So how do you do that? And these things are a great start to that, so kudos. And the openness, I think, is awesome. But I think we got, like, it's the kids. You got to talk to those kids and find out, when you went into science class, why did you have all AP, go into a science major and have to change and almost switch your scholarship? So those are the things that you guys got to find out from that.
At our SCP steering committee just this week, we talked about the need for ongoing feedback loops at multiple points. So yes, alumni for sure, but also second graders have a lot to tell us and to share about, right? I mean, second graders are fearless. They'll share, they'll tell you how it really is. So that's on our radar as well.
I'm Barbara Gugliero. There's been a lot of talk about college, but we really do kind of have to pay attention to the kids who are not going to college. My children are 21, 23, and 25. 23-year-old was not going to go to college, but he's probably one of the most successful 23-year-olds I know. But when he was here, the only person who knew anything about kids who are not going to college, who are pursuing a trade, nobody else in guidance knew anything. She was the only one in this building who knew anything. And thank goodness for her, she was able to guide us. So she's probably going to be retiring soon, but in a long-term vision, there are many trades that are going unfilled. They don't have kids who are interested in doing that. So we would be wise to try to work with BOCES to get that going. And I know you don't have anything to do really with BOCES, but BOCES has a technical program, but there's no job placement. Like, that is ridiculous, but I know that's something that has to be taken up with them. So we do have to think about the other people who we will always need mechanics, barbers, people like that.
I just wanted to bring up the possibility of or a dream would be foreign language in the elementary school, starting in kindergarten. The preschools in the area have Spanish, so my 4-year-old now is learning, and it makes me very upset to think that he's not going to have it again until middle school. So if there's anything that can be done, all the research shows that they need to be immersed in it from a very young age. Hearing it, seeing adults speaking the language fluently, with gestures, and very effective ways to teach it. So I just thought that would be something to bring up. I'm also, very concerned about class size. I'd like to know where those numbers came from the beginning, and if it's possible to change what we think would be the standard for an active class.
Policy guidelines.
Yeah.
Can I share? So we have a committee for that. We have
Worth the money.
in terms of foreign languages in the elementary school. We have something called the Bilingual Vision Team, which again made up of K-12 teachers and administrators. And sort of the impetus for that was the dual mandates that we have for ENL students. So we know that based on proficiency level, there's a certain amount of minutes that each student has to receive. But there's another mandate that we haven't been meeting, which is the home language requirement, right? So if you have 20 or more students in a given grade level that speak the same home language, you need to have some sort of either transitional bilingual program or dual language program. We are out of compliance currently in 11 of those 13 grades, and the only reason we're not we're in compliance in the other 2 are because we don't hit that 20 threshold. So what this group has been looking at is first a self-assessment of, okay, what are the components here? And we have a strong ENL program. We can always use more staff, of course. So we're not looking to replace that, but instead to supplement what we're already doing. So we're looking at some models about what that could look like moving forward and trying to plan that out 5 years down the road. But a big question has been, we have resources. Students are resources, and they learn through social interaction. So why don't we have language buddies? Why aren't we teaming students up in native English, native Spanish speakers in some sort of structured way where they can learn from one another? It's not FLES, but it's a start. We've had conversations about how can we leverage other resources in order to maybe start to build this in. So maybe it's in music courses, or in general music that every student takes. Maybe they're learning different songs that way. My son is a kindergartner in a dual language program, and he learns through music. It's it's an amazing thing. So we're looking at ways, because we know that we can't get 5 teachers next year to make it so we can meet this mandate, but we're looking for ways to leverage our students as resources already, but to have all students benefit at the same time, right? So this is a way that we can be a community builder and a bridge builder, as well as give our students really essential skills. And I know exactly what you're saying about all the research. This is a prime time for students to be having a multilingual sort of brain. So we're with you, and we're trying to make it work and build it in over time as we can.
Thank you. My daughter was talking about a student in her class that doesn't speak English, speaks Spanish, and she said, I want to talk to her. Like, I want to be her friend. What can I do? So I'm just talking to her about, how she can help her learn English. Maybe she can help me learn Spanish. But I think a way where they can all kind of learn together would be a great socially as well.
Is there an app on an iPad that maybe they can interact with a game, an app for the bilingual, so that they can interact? Because I know we have iPads. So I'm just
Yeah, there should be tech solutions that can help get that going for sure.
Thanks, Michelle. So who hasn't gone up yet? You all came to just listen?
You wrote a speech?
I didn't write a speech. If you know me, I don't usually use a speech. I'm Joe Cavanaugh. I've had 3 students who graduated from the school. One's a junior at University of Scranton where I work, and the other 2 are out. One went to Virginia, one went to Binghamton. So I've experienced the whole issue of them going to school and the adjustment, and were they prepared academically here, yes or no. My suggestion would be that what we should do is every year the college kids come back in the middle of May, late May, they're all at home. It'd be great if we can try to get the students that just finished their freshman year to come back. Different types of students go to different types of schools. and bring them in and have the juniors or even the seniors come and have a day where they can talk and have somebody facilitate like a forum like this, where they can talk about issues about school, not only academic issues, where they prepared, but what are some of the things they were shocked about when they first went there in terms of their first semester and second semester academically, but also the social aspects of school and things like that. Because things change at campuses all the time. So you could have a student who went to school 4 or 5 years ago and then have another one go now. And a lot of things are different. For the most part, what I found working like in the higher education industry, that Brewster students do well, that they're prepared, and they do pretty well, and we do a pretty good job here at doing that. But I think it would really help our current students who are about to go into school to have a bunch of students just come back. I think they all would love to do it. They all love to come back and see everybody here, the teachers and the administrators and all that kind of stuff. So I think it'd be worth looking into to get, maybe about 10 students come back at the end of the year, represent different types of schools, state schools, private schools, all types of different schools, community college, just to come back and be able to have the students ask them questions and have them give them a nice roadmap and prepare them when they go their freshman year and kind of say, these are the things maybe you should be thinking about now before you go to school.
Thank you. Who else? Anyone on the board want to add thoughts?
I know they do a program. Our numbers at BOCES are growing every year, so we do have more and more students attending various programs, and I see the information, HVAC, welding, auto mechanics. And the stuff that's coming through there is incredible, and I think there is I don't remember, my kids are older, but there's a time when they can take the kids on trips over to BOCES to introduce them to the programs. I know we run buses over there to teach them and to show them what's available, but of course we can always do more. And in town alone, there's the steel workers, there's the carpenters union, there's 4 or 5 major unions located in Brewster that we always reach out to, and they, if they see a shortfall and they are looking for students, they can approach us or tell us what they find lacking in students. So we do have a depth in there, maybe it's fallen off, but it's something we can definitely rebuild on.
I just want to add, I love that suggestion. My son is in sophomore year in college. I wish he had that opportunity. So we'll see. I'll talk to my team, see if we can work on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Last chance. We're never doing this again, so.
Great openness.
He's transparent.
Yes.
No. Well, and our hope is again, so we're, this is how we can make change, and I know sometimes it happens slower than we'd like. I've had to learn that being in this role, that things take a lot of time and hurdles. But we're trying, and we'll do our best, and things that we can make happen sooner than later, we will, and other things we can plan for and navigate, and it does absolutely help to have input of the community, because while what we can do from our perspective is manage kind of state mandates and what we have to live within in the public school system, wherever there is space for us to personalize it, that's where that input from our parents, and we're all parents, but matters. So however we can personalize, Brewster sort of really reflects our kids and their needs. Working within what we're forced to do, so the state stays out of our business, because they have come into other districts in New York and taken over, so we don't want that ever to happen. But so I know we appreciate this exchange, and thank you for coming. I wasn't sure also who would come or if anyone, and hopefully, I think for me the intention is to make this practice for our district, for the board administration and the community, so that if we're in constant communication, we won't have random blowouts of things, that we're always somehow connected. So I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I need to, if we're done.
I vote to
we're all
adjourn.
good?